All right, all right, all right. Guys, we're about to get started here in the next 2 minutes. This is a 2 minute. Make sure everything is good. What the heck is that? Aha, here we go. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see. Here we go. All right. 60 seconds, guys. 60 seconds. You guys are going to want to grab a notepad and pen of some sort to write down with, as always. "30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds. We're going to get this thing popping. Get the pop locking. All right, if you would, go ahead and type in the chat box what country you are currently in, what city, or you can do what state. Just want to see where you guys are calling in from, or typing in from, watching from. All right, I'm going to give you guys another 60 seconds because I'm not going to be on here long. I'm going to hit you hard, quick, and fast. So listen up quickly. About 30 more seconds, guys. All right, let's get this party started. So before I hit the whiteboard, I'm going to pop on here a little bit. If you want to go ahead and put on your piece of paper up there at the top, law, okay? Land, air, water, because that applies to you and me and all of mankind, whether you know it or not. Okay, just put that up there. Law, land, air, water. Very important, right? Standing on land, you need water, and what? You got to breathe air, right? Sounds very elementary. Okay. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get this party started. Okay. So obviously I'm your host, Tyreek, Kingdom Diplomat. So I want to welcome all you diplomaters. I don't think that's a word, but I just came up with one. See, you can come up with stuff, right? And it can probably catch on, right? So if you don't know what that means, go ahead and look it up. But essentially, obviously, because we weren't born under a kingdom, and even in some regards, to some degree, we were taught to despise the kingdom. But I would submit to you, by looking up that word kingdom and what a king is, which I'm gonna go over here with this little, um, I guess, meaning um, connection to that I have behind me. I forgot what you call that term. We used to do that in elementary school for quizzes and stuff. Um, there's a particular word for it, but anyway, it's you basically tying in the meaning to um, a word. So word meaning, I guess, puzzle or some sort, if you want to call it that. But so I hope you guys are doing well towards the end of this week. Man, this year has gone by so fast. Oh my goodness. Where has the time gone? Where has the time gone, right? Where has the time gone? So we're actually approaching, let's see, the end of the third quarter. If you want to look at it from January to December. And I know some of you are thinking, wait a minute, man, September is coming up, and September means seven, but that is the ninth month in this calendar. You would be correct. Okay, if you didn't catch that one, I'll say something different. How about October? October, that's the ninth, no, the 10th month, right? October, octagon, 8. I'm gonna let that sink in there with you a little bit. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of side note. Okay. So again, I hope you guys are doing well this week. So I wanted to hop on here for about 15 minutes and kind of recap from last week because, talking about the image and which has to deal with the mind and talking about the reflection, that is extremely vital and imperative that we know that, right? And the definition, obviously, I got into it, but essentially, when you talk about your images, you're talking about your mind, okay? Your mind, which is part of your soul, okay? Your soul is made up of your mind, your will, emotions, and your intellect, okay? Kind of like a personal pan pizza, like from Pizza Hut, right? And so, with that being said, that will determine your reflection, okay? So, when you look in the mirror, your reflection, it's not going to change. It just copies what you see, right? So if you're standing in front of the mirror, it just copies what is, right? What is the reflection of it? So reflections never change unless the image changes. Okay. So if you have a red shirt on and then you switch to a yellow shirt, the reflection changes, right? Because why? Because the image change. So how does that apply to your life? Okay. And what are the things that are hidden in you? Okay. Hidden in you. What are the things that are hidden inside of you that you may not know about? Maybe you've shown some fruit. I'm pretty sure you have shown fruit of one of them is leadership. So if I were you, I'd write that down. Write that down. Leadership. Okay. Leadership. Okay. Maybe you gave somebody a piece of your mind. That's a phrase that people have used for a long time. And guess what? That is an extension of your leadership. Now, maybe you said some 4 or 5 letter words, and maybe you said some derogatory things. Maybe you did all that without saying that, but you were firm and you were angry, and obviously you've seen something that was unrighteous, and that's also part of your leadership. Why? Because leadership is actually already inside you. Okay, so obviously we've already set in stone that not a one of you that's listening to me right now, live or tomorrow or next week or next year and beyond, is not a mistake. Okay, I don't care what's being said on TV. I don't care what's being written in the books. Nobody's a mistake. Okay. Now, people come up with ideologies so they can come up with reasons to steal, murder, destroy, lie, cheat, all that stuff like that, right? And that's what keeps people, fighting over frivolous, stupid things, right? So it's kind of like a let's take an acorn, right? Everybody knows that an acorn produces an acorn tree, right? And so that tree produces hundreds of acorns, right? And they fall off. Some of them get eaten by the squirrels. A lot of them get eaten by the squirrels. Some of them fall into the ground. It's too shallow. They don't grow. Some of them get deep enough into the ground. They grow more trees, right? So you have all this forest of acorn trees and all these acorns in the tree. Follow me now, okay? So imagine this acorn may be a little bit darker than this acorn. One's a little bit lighter. One has a scratch on it. Another one is a little bit more reddish, but it has a little bit of tint to it of darkness and brownness and all these hundreds of acorns on the tree. And they're conversating with each other because there's acorns on the north side of the tree and acorns on the southern part of the tree and the eastern part of the tree and the western part of the tree. And they're divided because they didn't sprout from the tree on the branch all on the same side, right? So they're talking to each other. Okay, bear with me. And the east side of the acorns, they don't want nothing to do with them because the west side is over there on the other side, and they say the east side they say is the right side, and the west side says they're the left side. You see what I'm going with this? you, you can apply this concept to anything, right? And they're yelling across each other up and down obscenities and making fun of each other, and they're looking at each other, and they're frowning against each other, and they're bitter and they're hatred against each other. Now, how dumb is that? That sounds so stupid. Why? Because all those acorns came from what? One acorn tree, right? Or one acorn rather, right? Which created a whole other forest of other trees, right? So everything produces after its own kind. That's a law in itself, right? Okay. So you'll never have an acorn tree, or should I say, orange be birthed from an acorn tree, right? That'll never happen. That's impossible. Okay. That breaks the law of nature, and that goes also for mankind, right? You have laws of nature, and a lot of times we are contrary to the laws of nature, right? So anyway, all right. So let's get into this. Let's get into the second one. So the first one was leadership. The second one was dominion. Okay, so the dominion mandate is actually also in you. Dominion is actually a kingship or a lordship word. So write that down. Dominion, to dominate. Okay, you were created to dominate an area of gifting. Okay, at least one area of gifting, which measures to a talent or ability that's actually already inside of you. Okay, so it comes natural to you, right? But you still have to work at it to master it. Okay, learn all the avenues, get all the information that you can, learn the principles tied to that, so you can increase your value. And guess what? You don't have to chase money, because if you chase money, money runs from you. But if you increase your value by understanding and finding out what your gifts and talents are, learning to master them one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. That's what I learned through some of my mentorship and learning personally, and reading a lot. And with that one learning at a time, guess what happens? You become very valuable, which also makes you invaluable. So guess what runs after you? Resources run after you. Okay. Because I already tried the other way. Most of us listening to me right now and in the future have tried that also too, right? Money runs from those who pursue it. You have to apply laws, or in other words, principles. Laws, land, air, water, has to do with principles. Okay. That's just how we were created, right? That's how everything was created. All right. It runs by laws. Okay. Now, the third word is kingship. Write that down. Kingship. What's a king? King is a monarch. A king's word is his bond. King's word also makes a law: land, air, water. Okay. And with that word is, a king runs a kingdom, right? Over a territory, a domain. Okay. The king owns it all. Okay. Obviously, a president or a prime minister don't own the people. I know a lot of them think that they do, but they don't, including certain, corporation governments and so on and so forth. Um, And again, that violates the first law, the eternal law of Genesis 1:26, where mankind is not supposed to be lording over or kinging over each other. Okay, that's in total violation. And within that violation, there is judgment. Individually, whether it be a family, whether it be a town, a city, or a country. So, hey, don't get mad at me. I didn't give the mandate. Okay. Just telling you what he said. You read it for yourself. Genesis 1:26. Okay. That's the mandate that's actually been sown into us, programmed into us. Okay. That's why people don't want to be told what to do. Okay. It's true. Most people, majority of people, I would say all the people at some point in time in their life, they don't want to be told what to do. They want to tell other people what to do, right? But anyway, and if you manipulate people, that's a form of witchcraft, because people want power. Okay. I just gave you another tip. They desire power. That's the number one desire is power, the ability to control circumstances and environment. That's what power is. Another word for power is energy. Okay. Energy, right? You can actually feel it because it's a spiritual thing. When you walk into a room, you can actually discern the words that have been spoken because words carry energy. Okay, negative, positive, so on and so forth. We have atoms in our body that are made of energy. Anyway, so another word is lordship. Lordship. Okay, lordship. Lordship means owner, controller, accessor, right? Has to do with power, that type of thing. Lordship. So all that's in us. Okay. So all right, let me go ahead and just wrap this up. So again, you got mind. Write that down. Image means mind, right? So if you want to change your life, change your image. Okay. So the image that you have right now is a compilation of what all the media that you've ingested, right, through your senses, especially your not just your five senses, but your main two senses, which is your eye and your ear gates. Okay, eye and ear gates, right? The law of input and output. I'd write that down if I were you. The law of input and output. Okay, the law of input and output. Um, Now, with that being said, so the image has to do with your attitude. So you got 98% positive mental attitude, 2% work. That's my formula. Okay. You don't have to, your 98% attitude will determine the output of that 2% to be more effective. Here's the problem. We were taught in the system of management, although leadership entails management, that you should have 98% work and 2% of a positive mental attitude, or excuse me, or negative mental attitude, right? Which is upside down, is reversed, right? Okay. So anyway, one way of finding out what about a solution is find out first what doesn't work. Okay. I just gave you a major tip that will save you time, money, and frustration. Look at the things that don't work. Look at the things that don't fit, and then it'll point you into the direction of things that do fit and do work. Okay. Now, work is not your job is basically a avenue, and I've been thankful for the jobs that I've had before. But it's an avenue to create finances. Okay, credit basically. Okay, it's not real money. It's just an entry form right on a computer. So with that being said, um, you have to also look at that the word work is more of it's tied to your gift. Okay, your gift. Okay, so that's why they say when you'll never work a day in your life when you do what you love. That's what those people were talking about or alluding to. I don't know if they knew that or not, but your work is your gift. Okay, when you chase your gift, when you develop your gift, right, when that seed you put it in the right area and you ingest the right media. Okay, reading, listening to the right stuff, right, music, all that type of stuff. Okay, reading develops the mind, sharpens the mind. Okay, quickens the mind, right? Whatever area that you need to work on. Most people need to work on people skills, leadership skills. That's the biggest thing. And they be crying about, I don't make enough. I don't make enough. cut the crap out. You're ingesting the wrong media. Cut that down 10, 15, 20, 30, 40%, incrementally. That's what I did. And you start reading more and just learning little principles at one time, one principle at a time, apply it for a week on another principle. And before you know it, within 3, 4, 5 months, you develop a quiver of principles and you apply them, let's say, to people skills, right? And guess what? You made yourself valuable, okay? Therefore, you increase your value. And guess what? Resources find you, right? Opportunities present themselves, okay? So I can give you a myriad of examples with that. I've had, just me doing the right things, staying righteous, right? Just doing the character thing, Now I say I was perfect. I'm not, but trying to stay on the up and up, right? And guess what? Opportunities chase me down. I don't chase them down. Okay. I'm just, because I have 98% attitude. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say completely 98% attitude all the time. Some days I mess up. But I look at things differently than most. Okay. A majority of the time I don't react. I respond. Okay. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic in itself, but I just dropped a major hint. Okay. Never make emotional decision when you're tired. Why? Because you get emotional. Okay. Never make a major decision when you're emotional, rather. Okay. Sleep on it. Take a nap. Okay. Take 2, 3 days, fast, shut all the noise out there. You'll be amazed. You get a great night's sleep, not 8 hours, maybe 10 hours, and write down stuff, right? Because when you go to sleep at nighttime and you're thinking about something, not worrying about it, that's a whole nother topic in itself, worry and fear. When you do what I just told you to do, a lot of times the answer will actually drop down into your spirit, hit your mind, and you'll wake up in the morning after just getting up slowly, not fast, right? Taking your time to get up, which means you probably got to get up earlier, right? Many times I'm still working on that at certain days. But the answer comes, okay? So let me go ahead and wrap this up. All right. So change your image, which means change your mind, which means you have to it automatically change your reflection or your perception, because that's your reality. Okay. So there's 3 levels. You got the conscious mind. Obviously, that's your mind. You got the subconscious, what they call it. That's your spirit. Okay. And then you also have the manufacturer, who I like to call, okay, the Lord and the King who created all of us. Okay. And there's obviously an assignment that we're all supposed to do while we're down here. The problem is that we're all running around all over the place and we don't even know who we are, our identity, why we're here, our purpose, what we can do, right? Talents and abilities, where we're going, our vision, and what was the 5th one? Where we're from, where we are from, our origin. Because if you don't know the first one, you're not going to know the other 3. If you don't know the second one, the first one and the second one, you're not going to know the other 3, right? You see what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying. All right. So those are the 3 levels right there. Okay. So in closing, let's go back up to the board real quick and I'm going to wrap this thing on up. So I said last week, because this bears repeating. Okay. I said last week, dominion, okay, comes all the way down here. Now, I didn't obviously have enough room to do all the definitions, okay, to it. Let me get over here near the board. All right. But if I put dominion and it's connected to, let me see, influence, okay, because, let me tell you this real quick, because you learned that you are able to dominate, not people, okay. Remember Genesis 1:26, but to dominate your area of gifting, your talent, your ability, right? Using whatever technology, AI, and certain things in various ways, becoming very creative and making yourself more valuable. Obviously, it's going to increase your value, right? Because you're increasing you. Okay, you don't have to chase money. Okay, so that means the influence, right? You increase your dominion of your talent and ability. the definition has to deal with influence. It expands your influence. So the more of this stuff that I learned years and years and years and years ago and applied it, right, understanding it, actually a lot of it I overstand it, which means in depthly. It means the connection of how it connects to your spirit and your soul and your body. Okay. Um, and then I applied it, which is wisdom, right? Application is very key. You can do knowledge, you can do understanding, but if you don't apply it, then guess what? You're being a hypocrite. So I've applied a lot of these principles and learned what works, what doesn't work for me. Okay. Now here's the thing: the things that I'm giving you with the law, land, air, water, these principles are universal. Okay, they have no respect of a persons of what color, what background, what religion you are. I'm not part of any religion, right? Because I've learned that the king didn't bring a religion, he brought a kingdom, but that's a whole nother topic. Look at some of my previous talks, you'll see about it. Um, that's why, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So the second one is management. Okay, here's the number one thing. The number one thing that the manufacturer, the Lord, gave mankind isn't a woman. Okay, go back and read it. He gave him work. Work. That's in Genesis 2, 5 or 6, 5 and 6. Okay, he gave us work before a woman, a man with a womb, right? That's what a woman is, a man with a womb, which is the doorway to this planet. Okay. Third thing, you got the king, which is you, okay, which is me. Okay. It even says that even in the natural realm, in some of these state constitutions and other things, that if you get to reading a lot, you'll find out there's a lot of FRAUD that we live in, right? A matrix, right? MATRIX matrix. And it even talks about being a king of your castle. Okay. Where do you think that came from? Yes. Okay. But that's already in you. Okay. So king has to do with a male sovereign. Okay. In the natural, you can say queen, but in the spiritual realm, a king is also a female. Okay. Because there's no difference in gender in the spiritual realm. That's another topic in itself. Kingdom. So a king is over a kingdom. Okay. He has full authority and power over the kingdom, and he owns the air, he owns the water, the minerals, the land, the people, the trees, the streams, whatever it is. That's the king. Okay. And then you have mankind. Actually, let me go back to this kingdom. So that goes to territory. And then you got mankind right here. That's up here to offspring. Okay. Offspring. Okay. If you have children, they're your offspring. So all mankind were offsprings of the manufacturer, right? So we're kind of like products, so to speak. Okay. And then you got in a democratic republic, you got a president or prime minister. Okay. That's the Western world. Okay. They're opposite of a king. That's how they work. They have ultimate power, okay, over their territory. They don't. Okay. They're supposed to be elected by the citizens. Okay. They have citizens, but the king's promise and reputation is tied to his kingdom citizens. Okay. And he takes care of his kingdom citizens. Why? Because other kings in around his territory, right, get wind of his reputation. But here, a president or prime minister doesn't care about the citizens. Most of them don't. Okay. Look in history, right? They're not affected if you're poor, broken, busted, and disgusted, and ugly and bitter, right? Okay, not you. Um, person behind you. Just kidding. Not really. But anyway, so you get what I'm saying. Now you got government right here. Okay, well, let me go back to president. What did I say? The president, CEO of a republic. Okay, chief executive officer. Okay, executive officer. That's over a corporation. Okay. Government all the way up here, administration. Okay, that's where the kingdom is. Okay, this is a kingdom. Kingdom government has to do with government also too. Okay, there's different types of government. Mankind was actually given. You want to know why a democratic republic never works? It's very simple, because it's not what we lost. We didn't lose a democratic republic. They don't work. Read the data in every category. You'll see. But mankind is still struggling with that. They've been like that for a long time, at least the last, 2,000 years or 1,500 years with democratic republics, somewhere around that area. Um, but when you have a righteous king, they work. Okay. But anyway, so religion, means again, legion. That's a whole other topic in itself. I'll hit that another time. So you go all the way up here. That means rules, customs, and rituals. Okay. So you got the top 4 religions in the world and all these other different religions. So all these different people are confused with a lot of different things, right? Hoops to jump over, red tape, all that stuff like that. So government, corporations, religions are all weaved in, right? They're all part of the same source. Okay. So anyway, I would go ahead and match all that up real quick. So again, dominion, influence, management. What was that? Supervising. Go ahead and write that down. Okay. You got king. This is all in you right here, except this right here. Okay. But these have to do with law. Okay. And influence. And you got president, prime minister, CEO of republic, government. I told you administration, mankind, offspring, religion, rituals, customs, rituals, rules, customs, rituals, traditions, so on and so forth. Okay. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. You guys have a great, great, great week. And definitely put in the chat box if you have any questions about this. I'll go ahead and look at the census. And, I can delve into some more stuff in here and tell you about you. Okay. So remember, your future is not ahead of you. Your future actually is trapped on the inside of you. Okay. In the form of a seed. You just have to get the seed in the right environment. Right. First of all, cap the negative. Stop ingesting garbage into here. Right. And then after you do that, or while you're doing that, put in good stuff, read good stuff, listen to good stuff. Okay. Just keep filling it in. It's very basic math. Okay. And guess what'll happen? Your seed and everything, your vision that's been put inside your talents and abilities will actually sprout out. Okay. It takes time. All right. So you guys have a great week. Be back next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Kingdom Diplomat out. See y'all next week. Peace.